to begin.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Social Primate Podcast. What's up? Thank you guys for tuning back in. For those watching right now, we're getting a session right now. If you're not watching and you're listening to this, we are getting high. Really, really high. And with me today, we have Shneaky. What's up, man?
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
For those of you who don't know, I hope I have like a quick breakdown of what Shneaky is. But I have a community leader, activist, DJ, educator, event specialist, a little bit of everything, jack of all trades. What's up, man?
Damn, you made it sound better than I do.
Just a few key words, you know? Just
I need that. You need to send me that copy so I could put it in my resume or on my LinkedIn or something.
Exactly, yeah, perfect, man. Well, yeah, man, thank you for coming out today. For those of you, again, who haven't heard of you, before you give us a little bit of background about what you do, I've had the chance to catch you at a few shows. I don't know how often you perform now, but I know you were performing a lot, at least like 2 years ago when I first saw you. And I started seeing your name everywhere, and I was like, this guy, he gets it going. You get into it. I know I saw you performing, and it was like hip-hop, right?
Yeah, I do hip-hop. I have a lot of like rock influences and soul influences. So it's like a lot of boom bap, classic hip-hop, but I have a live band, so we do like rock stuff, and I've also done like the newer school trap stuff. So yeah, like pretty much under the umbrella of hip-hop, but all kinds of alternatives and stuff.
Yeah. Sweet, man. So I mean, with that being said, like again, for those people who don't know you, because I know you're really involved. At least from when I started looking you up, I found a lot of content online, like music videos or just like the archives of footage that you were in, or stuff like that. Music on top of that.
Yeah.
Podcasts. So it's like a lot of people by this point have heard your name.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yes. I mean, I don't know how to answer that without sounding like fucking cocky and narcissistic. But, I mean, like, to take our conversation, right? I was just telling Dre that, like, and I told you the same thing, that I was listening to your pod and I was like, damn, I need to be on this show. Like, I know a lot of people who I fuck with that have been on this show. Like, why am I not on this show? And then you jump in my DMs, and then when we talk, you're like, yeah, I don't know you, but I've seen your name. I've heard you around. And so, I mean, that's kind of a common experience that I have, where people will be like, oh, you're Shneaky, or like, oh, like, yeah, I've seen your name on flyers, or like, yeah, I know you do this with so and so, or you've been at this venue. So I mean, I guess that's just a testament to my work, because that's kind of like the goal, is to be a household name and be able to like move people and do big things for the community and the culture and all that. So
I mean, you're doing a pretty good job at it, man, because for sure, I've seen it like here and there, and I see it involved. I think one of the things that I came across once was that you were doing, you're doing a podcast.
I do a podcast.
Right? Recognition and Respect podcast?
Yes, right? Correct.
Cool. So just so we don't jump around, give us a little bit of background about how that came about, or what it's about as well.
So, I mean, the way I like to describe it is like, it's like a two-part. So recognition is recognizing who you are, the guest, who the guest is, what they do, how long they've been doing it, kind of just recognizing their status now. And then respect is kind of like respecting the journey, the trials, the tribulations, and finding out how they got to this point, So that's kind of what, in a very like general sense, very broad, that's what those conversations are about. Is like people I know, or people who I've met through this journey, like on my music network or through different avenues, and trying to get them a platform to be like, hey, like, I see what you're doing. I want to showcase. I want to show other people, and hopefully they can get involved and help you build your brand or your business or your fan base, whatever it is. So.
Okay, and then from that stems out to the other things that you've been involved with, right?
Right. So the music came first, and the podcast was kind of a way to have alternative content. You know how it is. Like in this day of social media, it's like all about content generation. How do I show? So as a musician, right? There used to only be a few avenues how you got your music out. Either it was the music, perform shows, you do music videos, and like that was pretty much the extent of your content, But now with the podcasting and vlogging, now you can show your audience a different side of you. Right. Where I'm not rapping right now. This is not like a visually cool, like edited, stimulating video. We're just having a conversation. They could see who Shneaky is, right? So that kind of idea is like, well, there's so many people out there who are doing really cool shit, and their social media or their content really doesn't reflect that. So I feel like podcasting gives that kind of other perspective and lets people see like who these people are and what they're actually doing and what they're about. You
Yeah,
know?
correct. And at the same time, you get to showcase the work that you are involved. I know, because like for example, I used to do another podcast before this. It was called Live Locals, and that whole idea, Hannah, the whole idea started with I'm a graphic designer, so like people weren't paying attention to the work, you know, and then in order to have work to present, you need to get work from somebody else. But when they're not giving it to you, you kind of have to make the work yourself.
Right, you have to generate it
Yeah,
somehow.
exactly. So that started snowballing into me involving more design work into the podcast, and then at the same time was producing content to try to give platform to other people who were in the same position to kind of just find a place where they can showcase what it is that they're doing as well, community wise.
Yeah.
So that just kind of rickrolled in eventually to Social Primate.
Right.
Yeah,
and I like what you do because
yeah.
I feel like it's kind of in the same vein, what I'm trying to do. But obviously everybody has their own take and their own perspective
Yeah,
and their own
right.
background they bring to it. So like we could probably have the same guest and we'd have completely different conversations, So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
so like that's why it's like this is like the meeting of the minds, Two people who are trying to put each other
Yeah,
on.
right. Exactly. It becomes a big what is it called? Hive mind.
Yeah.
And then
A collective,
Yeah, and it gets getting pretty crazy. So I mean, besides the podcast, Shneaky Entertainment and Consulting, I see that's a big part of your website, right? Like.
Yeah, so that's pretty much like the company that has developed out of this musical journey. Basically, like as a musician in LA, especially hip hop, or even having a band, sometimes it's hard to get shows without having to pay to play or like some kind of ridiculous hoops that you have to jump through. And so, out of that kind of like thirst, that like that need, that necessity, and then a lot of people, not just me, there's a lot of folks who popped up around the same time who basically were like, well, we got to start throwing our own shows, cut out the middleman, find our own venues, make our own spaces, be able to put our own collectives on, our own friends, and so that's where Shneaky Entertainment came from, was like, how do we do that and make it sustainable and be able to pay artists and be able to pay photographers and kind of create like an economy so that young creatives can have somewhere to go and like work, like you said, right? Like who's gonna give you work? Like
exactly.
When you need work to showcase, you need work to get work, right? So we're trying to be those first people that give you work and help you build your portfolio and like we'll put you on our social media and put you on the flyers and like start giving your name recognition, so.
Yeah, right, and that's like the important part, because again, at least to me at that point when I was first thinking of you people think like podcasts, it's easy because people are sitting down in front of the mics and kind of just talking, which it could be easy, but there's also like this.
I've heard some really bad ones though, right? Like I'm pretty sure you have the same experience. Like someone puts you onto a podcast and you're just like, this is not interesting, this is not engaging.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm over it. Like,
yeah, you're over it and you're just kind of like waiting for the clock to finish. But at least to me, I was really introverted when I first started, or just in general. And it might not seem like I am now when I'm talking one-on-one with somebody and it's kind of flowing and everybody's comfortable. But like, put me in a group and I'm fucking scared, dude. I'm anxious, So it kind of started breaking down a few walls for me as I started developing the podcast, So there's definitely its hiccups and it's like really good parts to it.
I mean, it's hard. Like it's kind of cliche. A lot of people say this, but like podcasting is really therapy. It's therapeutic. I find the same thing sometimes. Like I do like these little adventure times, kind of updates before the actual conversation. And a lot of times it's like it's me venting about the week I just had, or me talking about the wins we had, the great events, or like not great events, or people flaking, or my car breaking down. Sometimes it's just nice to be able to say shit, like just to say it out loud, and know that like someone's gonna hear it.
And then somebody's gonna relate to it.
It's cathartic, man. And then your guest is there and they relate. They're like, oh yeah, my car's broken down too. And then it's like and then it's just like a feel good kind of thing, when it's done right. And a lot of people, I can see a lot of people like benefiting from that and how it helps their mental health. And there's a lot of podcasts I listen to where people are like, me being able to just say this shit and the listeners, like, y'all get me through the day, and it's like, it's true. Like, I'd be walking through the street and people be like, hey, man, what's up with the podcast? Like, you still doing the podcast? Like, hey, I heard your podcast. And or even, like, the shows or, like, the rap or whatever I do, it's just, like, it's always nice to get that appreciation that something's just self-expression, something to just like that's healing for me, but other people appreciate it and consume it and like want to support it and will buy a shirt or pay for a ticket or
exactly. They go to that like to that extra step to kind of just show them that that it brings some sort of change. It might not be huge and shit, but it's like enough to kind of like have them grasp at what you're trying to say and feel like they can relate to you.
I mean, I always feel these days, especially with like the political climate and everything, it's more important to try to make a small bit, like a big impact, a huge impact into a small amount of people, like something like that's more tangible. Like sometimes people have these big aspirations and big dreams to like try to change the whole world or the whole political spectrum or to try to change people's perceptions, and it's like sometimes you need to just focus on like the people that are already in your corner and try to do something big for them, because that's like it's gonna have more impact. I feel like the more tangible, like, and that's like local government shit as opposed to worrying so much about presidents. Obviously presidents, senators, governors, still huge, but like who are the people who are trying to get you rent control? Who are the folks who are like trying to like pass the taxes and make sure that the money you're spending is actually going to like fix the street lights and clean up the parks, and so it's like local small impacts are sometimes more huge than like these global movements that like lose momentum. They kind of fizzle out.
I definitely understand that. I know. I live in the city of Cudahy.
Oh, so Liz, she's the one I was talking about.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I know her by her formal name.
Mayor? No, vice mayor. What is she?
Council member.
Council member. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a great person overall. But yeah, for example, that brings it to that that point that you're making here in regards to getting involved with your local. Oh shit, my bad, people. In regards to
it's 7:37. Time check. Random ass
alarm.
It's
only been 7 minutes. Shit.
It's a random ass alarm.
I don't even know why it's on, but I was probably taking a nap.
And you were like, I better wake up and get to Shneaky on time.
So yeah, getting involved is like a lot of people don't want to get involved. I know I kind of touched this like 2 episodes ago or something that a lot of people decide to leave their hometown. After a certain age, you're like, I want to get the fuck out of here. Like, fuck these people.
Or even from a young age, you just can't. And then you find a way out, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. When you want out, you want out, Yeah. But at some point, at least for me, it might have come a little late to my realization at that point. But I started thinking, like, dude, like, the best place I can try to make the change is within my community, Whatever it is I can at least provide or at least convince somebody to come with me, it's a little change that little by little, those little steps, they're going to lead to more people becoming involved, and that's affecting what the community, I guess, deserves or
well, I mean, like, we all have basic human rights, right? And then on top of that, I feel like there are just things that are kind of, at this point, where the resources are and the money is and all the things that we have in this world, like, it almost seems like there's just some things that should be a given, and like a lot of our communities don't get that stuff that should just be a given. On top of our human rights being violated, like there's also like things that maybe that it'd be nice. It's like we can afford it, and it'd be nice if people had these things, and it would actually really help everybody overall. But we don't get that.
Yeah, I think one example that just came up when you were saying that is for those people who live like in Maywood or don't know where Maywood's at, it's like the Southeast LA area. There was. I don't think they're operating anymore, but Excite, that battery company.
Plant, yeah.
It's like to me, that's one of the biggest, at least because I'm local here, like one of my examples of like an environmental racism or something like that. Because for the same fact that no other community, at least if you go up to Los Feliz, Griffith Park, or Hollywood, they wouldn't really take that. They're gonna protest, and they're gonna fucking say something and say we don't want these things going on.
And they have the jobs where they can miss and go to hearings in the middle of the day.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
have the babysitters who can take care of their kids while they're in the streets, or you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
They have those resources. It's funny you bring that up because in high school I actually was part of Communities for a Better Environment, and one of the things that we did was like to stop the power plant from being built. There was going to be a new power plant built.
Oh right, yeah, that was like 6-7 years ago or something.
It was like 2006, 2007.
Yeah,
so that was around that time. Well, that was around the time that I was involved, and then like it went on to like not happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it was just living that close to a huge source of pollution. So for people who don't know, we're talking about Vernon. It's just like it's a completely industrial city.
Yeah, of course.
I think like the daytime population is like millions, like 2 million people, and the nighttime population is like 99 people. Like the council members are like the same family who like established that city, like back in.
Oh, really?
Some shit like that.
So
It's
this
like,
is some lineage shit
yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. It's like a straight up fucking like it's a monarchy, you know, and it's like they give tax breaks and they kind of have wonky rules when they, and that's why business comes here and that's why business thrives here, you know. And so I don't know, you listen to Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
So he had this makeup guy on recently, and he's the guy who did Thriller, and he said they filmed it right here in Vernon in one of these like parking lots.
Michael Jackson Thriller?
Yeah, Michael Jackson Thriller was filmed in Vernon, like a piece of
shit.
it. Yeah. And he made a comment. He was like, "Yo, the smell there was like this. I couldn't handle the smell." He's talking about like the burning facility and like the Farmer John carcass disposal, whatever, right? And I just thought like, "Yo, man, we have to live here." Like I smell that shit every night.
Yeah, right.
Every morning when I wake up, every night when I go to sleep. You know, if I'm out late. Like I'll be at events, and
it just starts fucking
and
smelling.
you're outside. You could smell the fucking like I'm
rotten meat or like
it's
just
like this burnt carcass, fucking poison shit in the air, you know. And it's like that we live that, and that's a very prime example of environmental racism, you know, because there's no other there's other communities who have better resources and they're not dealing with those kind of issues.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think because of that, I don't know how much it was from like other factories, but I supposedly just with the Excite, I think the lead levels in people in Maywood, just in Maywood. I mean, the surrounding areas are Bell Gardens,
Huntington Park,
Southgate, Bell, but you know all these here, but they're the ones with like the highest lead levels. I don't know if it was in the state or the nation.
No, and like they had to like replace people's lawns because the soil. You know, people are growing shit in their fucking poison gardens. It's just like and then like higher risk of cancer, birth defects, premature death, premature birth, you know, asthma, all these like adverse effects, you know, and that's it's like I don't know how we got to this, but it's something that's like a part of our reality living in this area, you know, and that's why a lot of what we have to worry about we have to worry about local
local issues,
grassroots movements,
exactly,
people in the community who have shared experiences, so that you can make your collective experience more positive and have better outcomes. You know.
Yeah, exactly, right. And at the end of the day, you know, you take at least getting the younger people involved, because you know, for sure, within at least the majority of these cities here in Southeast, they're primarily Hispanic, and a lot of primarily they're also
Latino. Let's just say Latino, because there's like
you're right, like and then undocumented on top of that. So a lot of them don't have the chance to go vote for these type of issues, you know. And sometimes it just, I'm assuming it just depends on the people the younger people or the people who have that capability of going into the city. Like you said, taking their time out of their day to drive, to sit for a meeting, a council meeting and all this stuff. You know, there's a lot of time that takes into making them go in there.
And not only that, like we talked about earlier, like I've canvassed for campaigns and knocked on doors and try to get people elected, and like, you know, a lot of those young voters are never home or they're off to school.
Yeah.
You know, like, because like, what do we say? People try to leave their city, right? At that critical age, like right after high school, 18, 19, 20, 21, when you're
like, I'm out,
and you're about to, like, that's when you can vote. That's when, like, all these issues actually matter, and you're gone. And then, I mean, like, I don't, like, this is not to blame any people. Like, I'm not trying to, like, talk shit about anybody trying to, like, live that life, because I went and did that same thing, obviously a little later, but I went and did that. So, not knocking it, but it's just a reality. Like, the folks who can do stuff are not really around to do it because of the same reasons. There's no opportunities here. There's no chance for evolution and growth and flourishing. You have to get out of Southeast LA, like, and go to school somewhere else. You know, like, I mean, you don't have to, but it's almost like a more rich experience. I always tell people, like, leave here and come back. Like, leave and come back. Like, just go find out how other people live and see how people are treated, and like what they're, you know, what they have access to, and how they live, and what they get, and how all of this shit has actually come to be, and then come back and use that knowledge to, like, impact change, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly true. I mean, from my understanding is you at some point went to UC San Diego, right?
Yes.
How like I went to San Diego like a week, 2 weeks ago or so, and to me it was again this is just me talking as a tourist viewpoint,
For sure.
I went and I thought it was cool, man. I thought it was chill. The vibe just seemed more chill in regards to LA. Everything's just fast. Things fucking moving quick, and I don't know. I just found it like a really cool spot. Like, but again, at the same time, I saw the differences in regards to the people who are around you at that point, and that's a big difference. When you
For
do
sure.
see that darker skinned person, you're like, wait, like are you friendly or not, type of thing, or like you kind of have to like stand together in a sense. At least that's what I got from it, but also because at least me growing up for a long time, I wasn't exposed to other cultures per se. I didn't have like an African American friend till I was like after high school and stuff. So again, because you move somewhere else and
Right.
you experience life differently, and you start
Right.
seeing
Right.
how whether you relate to these or how you know
Well, you even find out more about yourself, right?
yeah,
Like your internalized racism and your low key
right.
anti-blackness
Hmm.
and all the problematic,
Yeah, no,
all the
for
things that
sure.
we're used to saying in the
Hmm.
hood. That's totally like funny and like culturally is not. Like we were raised to think it was okay, and then you
Yeah,
go other places and you find out that these words are actually like meant to hurt people, and like
yeah.
they're not they're funny because it's at someone else's expense, and you
Mhm.
just don't have those folks in your community, so
Yeah.
you can make those jokes and not have any consequences because the people you're making fun of are not there to be heard.
Exactly. And as I went until you're in front of them, you're like, oh,
This
wait a
is
second.
not,
Yeah,
this is actually
exactly.
fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, fuck. Now, my dad or uncle, oh, fuck, those guys are.
Those guys are
Those guys are
they're racist, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and it's like one of the things in the Latino community that I think like is really starting to get
Mhm.
called out now is like anti-blackness
Yeah.
and how close like Latinos and Afro Latinos, Cubano, like the whole like even
Yeah, right.
slaves escaping to Mexico, South America, and like
Yeah, they're
how
just adapting to that whole different
how
culture. Yeah.
can like close our cultures actually are, and like
Mhm.
all like think about like cumbias and salsas and
Yeah,
Latin
right.
jazz and all these rhythms that we've borrowed that are African. It's all African music, and it's all like, and then you even see like when you can put up like a spectrum of Latino and
Mhm.
see like there's Latinos that are super light skinned, and
Yeah,
there's
right.
like straight up black Latino, black Mexicans and shit. And it's just like,
Yeah.
and then breaking down those barriers and like
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah, because I think
the colorism that has
the
been in place.
colorism. Yeah, that's what. Now that you brought that up, just kind of solidified what I was bringing up in regards to, like, you see Univision, Canal 34, and all that stuff. I don't know if that's the same channel, but the fact, I think somebody wrote an article saying that even in those channels that are predominantly Hispanic and Latinos, it's a lot of the people are still light skinned.
Yeah,
It's
like the
not
folks that are giving the news are not. They don't look like the folks that are receiving the news for the most
exactly.
part.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. And and that not even in just the news, like the magazines. Like I was at Food for Less the other day, and I'm just waiting in line, and I see these magazines, the Spanish ones, and all the people on the front, they're just light skinned. And again, not that there's a preference and stuff, but the fact that they're not, like you said, they're not present. The way they use is. Wait, how did you say it? Fuck, I forgot.
The people that are giving the news are not representative of the people that are receiving the news.
Yeah, there you go. Again, perfect. And it just makes it complicated. Like if they're not doing it and they're from, a culture.
Well, I mean, how big of a deal is it that we finally had like an indigenous native, South American, Mexican, like India
Mhm.
on like a magazine who like won an award for a movie? Like that was a big deal, right?
Oh right.
It was a huge fucking
Mhm.
deal because like never has
Yeah.
happened, right? And it's just like it takes things like, and everybody wants to talk about PC culture and calling shit out. It's like, man, sometimes you gotta call it how you see it.
Mhm.
Like if it's the first time it's happened in hundreds of years, like there are 100 years, whatever the fuck, like those academies have been around for 90 years, 100, whatever. It's like, come on, there's got to be a reason for that,
Yeah.
Like can't just like turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. You see it. I think hopefully if anything, things gotten a lot more progressive over the last couple of years. Like they just accelerated a little bit more.
Right.
I would say in like 2016, Trump just kind of he
Or even the climate that led to him,
yeah.
because I remember like politically correct has been a thing. I mean, and Drake could even jump in on this. Comedians have been talking about PC culture
Oh, yeah, of
forever,
course.
like
Yep,
George Carlin, Joe
Yep.
Rogan, like
Mhm.
you know, like because they were feeling it early on the campuses and shit.
Yeah.
But when I went to college in 2013, I feel like I was in this sweet spot where
Mhm.
it was still cool and politically correctness was still something that you were like
Mhm.
learning and trying to adapt to. But I feel like those 3 years that I was there, that's when the backlash happened, you know? And so from 2013 to 2016, that whole backlash against PC culture, I feel is what gave
Yeah.
rise
I'll
to
give you a
Trump.
better
this here.
example. 2001 to Janet Jackson's titties. Radio was awesome because nobody was giving a crap. I'm serious. Shock jocks and all that was the rage. Right after Janet Jackson's titty came out, that's when all of the radio shows, the morning shows had to lock down. You couldn't, it's like everything had to be like super buttoned up because they didn't want to get fined no more about that. That's and then it
So
got
2001,
to Janet Jackson's boob, and then after that, I mean, you could still, it was still around, but it was getting towards there. And then, like you said, 2016, boom, Trump president, PC culture took over. So yeah, the sweet spot.
no, yes, because I
Sweet
feel
spot,
like
yeah.
now when you like, if I was to be going to school now, I probably wouldn't be getting that same PC talk.
No.
Like people would already be like, "Oh yeah, this is politically correct, but be careful with it. It might go too far." Like
You
you
would
know,
have-
Yeah, yeah,
you would
yeah.
have
before
to
it was
s-
just like, no, like this is racist. These people are wrong.
I
Like,
would have
this
to
is-
ask you, hey, what would you like to me to call you? He, she, wait.
Yeah, what's your preferred gender
Yeah.
pronouns? Yeah, how do you identify, right?
You might go to the restroom with the chick next to you. You don't know.
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, but if I have, I'm not trying to make a point here, but if I had something to say, I'd just be like cisgendered male. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
I-
yeah. You're
I already
yeah.
have a privilege there, and it's like, what?
say normal?
No, that's actually problematic because
Problematic.
you're assuming that like you are the norm
Mhm.
and
Mm.
other people are the abnormal.
Oh damn, man, you just fired me up right now. I feel triggered.
No,
Nah.
just saying. That's how PC culture works.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
yeah, of course.
And I feel like on some levels it's like super helpful and very like compassionate
Mhm.
and nice and polite to think of people's feelings like that.
Right.
But in like sometimes in real world situations and like just the intersections, you know, for lack of a better term of how life plays out, like those things don't always like line up, you know.
Yeah.
Politically correct like
Yeah,
I
I
know
mean-
there was a lot of kids who graduated college and tried to go into the workplace and
Yeah.
were fucking slapped with
Yeah.
like the how non-politically correct like
Yeah, right.
corporate America is and everyday 9 to 5 shit
Mhm.
is, you know.
No, for sure. That's a thing. Like for example, what was it? Well, probably say a few years ago. I think when I first started one of my first jobs too, I was like, wait, hold on, let me just got check time. Okay, we still got half an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I saw him making time. I was like, what? 2 minutes?
Oh no, he's just saying what's up.
we got people in the crowd. Dusty. We got our lawyer, IMUR, and we got Camo 211.
All right. What's up,
Oh,
guys?
for sure. What's up, Camo?
Where the fuck was I going with this? Oh yeah, so yeah, I remember getting this slap in the face once because I went into this job thinking that everybody was like fucking cool and like nice and like progressive, but then one of the managers was he was just a straight out dick. Like there was just disregard, and you didn't know how to really react to the fact that somebody was like not talking down to you, but just showing that they have
Authority.
Exactly,
Flexing.
authority.
They were flexing
They were
on you,
flexing.
and they're allowed to, and you
Yeah.
have to take it, and like you're not really allowed to call unless they like do something to violate you.
Yeah.
Like them acting that way is not against any kind of rule. Like,
Yeah, they can. Yeah,
They're-
true.
they're
It's
your boss.
Technically legal.
and your
It's
boss,
technically
like,
legal. Yeah, man. So, and right after that, I don't experience that anymore. But I still come across people that I know, and they're like, dude, my boss is a douchebag, or she's a fucking bitch. And it's like, dude, like, at least at some point for me, this is kind of move conversation and stuff, but my first time that I realized that people were just kind of people, like, yes, he's my boss, he has a title, that's what he gave him, that says that he has authority over somebody, was when I started experiencing with psychedelics.
yes.
Yeah.
It's a good segue.
And then to me that was like I remember just being at work, and I was a little I was microdosing at that time with some shrooms, and
Like, was it a real microdose?
Nah,
Or was it like
it was-
borderline dosage?
I was waiting, dude.
Because some people microdose and then they just dose themselves trying to microdose.
It was yeah, I think it's a little too much. And I was at work and I was typing. I used to do technical support for this tax company, you know. And I'm just sitting down and I went to the bathroom because I had to. This is when I first realized I was like, oh shit, like things are looking weird right now. And so I went to the bathroom and I'm using the urinal because I'm trying to like just focus. And there's this little, for men, I mean, or for people with penises, you see that there when you go to a urinal, there's like either a little shell or a little bee you can kind of aim
like
at.
where you're supposed to be at. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to focus on that and I'm just thinking everything like, oh shit, dude, I still gotta have like 6 hours to go. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna fucking talk on the phone without slurring. And my supervisor, my manager comes in. And he just comes next to the urinal next to me and he starts taking a leak. We don't talk or anything. We're just looking straight. And then I'm thinking like, dude, fuck this guy. You know, first of all, like this guy's just another person. Like he's just another human with the same, not the same experiences, but the whole aspects of what it is to be, you know, to grow as a human, to be human. We share that same thing. Like he takes a piss next to me. He uses the same type of toilet to take a shit on. You know, the act is
Wipes
also
his
the
ass
same.
with the same paper. Like,
Yeah. So this person is not above me, and then that's when I kind of realized like, this guy he's not above me. You know, he's not more than me. He's just an asshole. You know, and to me, that's when I kind of the idea of authority kind of like started withering away, and since then I opened something in my end to kind of like be more proactive on my own. You know, to take charge of my own things because I shouldn't have to rely on somebody else's approval or sense of my work ethic to prove that I can be more or do more type of thing, you know? So all this happened while I was just microdosing, air quotes.
Air quotes microdosing.
And then like the job ended like a month later. And then from then I just decided that, you know, I was going to just work on my stuff, you know, my field, which is design at that time. Or it still is at this point. But now it has, graphic design, yeah. So it kind of just, you know, kept
always
going.
need a graphic designer on the team, bro.
Hey, man. Let me know. off air.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk offline. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just to kind of follow up on that, I mean, and this is I'm gonna say this with a bunch of privilege. That's why I like the fact that I don't have a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really trying to build a life where people don't have to have bosses anymore. Because bosses, for the most part, you give a human power, they're gonna be a dick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sooner or later they're gonna.
It's just like just like that's why checks and balances exist.
Mm-hmm.
That's why psychedelics exist. That's why marijuana exists to like check power. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I mean, and that's if you're speaking. I would say speaking in that sense, be like your ego. You know, your ego is the one who maintains the idea that it is in power at all times,
that
and
it
should be.
That it can control things, and that it can drive things, and that it exists at all, right? Because, I mean, that's the part of you that makes you think you're real.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the part of you that makes you think you're real, and that makes you think that you matter.
Yeah, and once that gets broken down, you see the
illusion and like how oneness.
Mm-hmm.
Is really what we all should be striving for, you know, like to be one, to live as one, to evolve and progress as one human species, you know, as one, not even just human, like biodome, like every kind of biological life form should be like this one connected thing that's like moving towards something, you know?
Yeah, right. Instead of just being its own different little, I mean, this is what trips me out. Okay, so I know I kind of like went from the fucking bathroom story doing, you know, microdosing with the shrooms. Like for you, what was that like? If you could talk about it, you know, like if in regards to your experiences with that, like what was your first experience like?
Okay, so my first experience was a weird one.
Yeah.
Was that I had driven up to Chico State to DJ at some dorm parties.
Yeah.
And we were crashing with a homie, got some shrooms, we threw on a movie, and I kind of like fell asleep, but was also like watching the movie, and then like in the movie, and like I wasn't sure if I was like dreaming or like the body high was so intense. I feel like in hindsight, when I look back my experience now with mushrooms, I just feel like the body high was so intense that like it kind of floored me, and I was like having a trip, but I thought I was
like
sleeping.
floor, like you were
like I was laying down just like watching a movie, like eyes half open, watching the movie.
Mind
and
if I
just
borrow the lighter?
Oh no, not at all. Here you go, kind sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and then we were watching Across the Universe. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, the one with the Beatles music. Yeah.
And it was like Dear Prudence, and we were in the clouds,
Dude,
and like and like there's this trippy, like that movie's all like psychedelic and shit. And I remember like being in love with that, like with that soundtrack for like a whole year, just like that's like my shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like that trip wasn't really transformative as much as like later ones where I was like really like going through it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, the microdosing was after I had done the first one, and I know I kind of last 2 weeks ago we kind of touched with Dre when I was talking with you in regards to psychedelics and how like Joe Biden had brought something up that there was not enough research to say that marijuana wasn't a gateway drug.
Which just shows how out of touch he is with everybody.
Dude, for sure.
Literally the whole United States.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to be
49
another...
states.
I don't want to say it because I know people are going to be like, but I feel Biden's going to be another situation like Clinton was.
They're going to force him in.
Yeah.
Against all odds. They're going to put him against Trump, and then Trump's going to win. Because everybody's like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. So that's what I hope it doesn't happen. But, you know...
I mean, who's your candidate? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Andrew Yang. Gang.
Yeah, I like...
Yang,
yeah,
gang.
He's for sure my favorite new upcoming guy, you know? I don't see him going too
Gang,
far,
gang.
unfortunately, which I would like to see him at some point, you know? But I had to say Bernie and Elizabeth Warren at this point.
Yeah.
But Tulsi,
Yes.
haters. They don't want to see a woman.
You know what? I don't know. I think Bernie's too old, man. Too old.
For sure.
Tulsi Gabbard is serving in the current military.
Too old, too white. You know, just for the
Too old, too white,
for
yeah.
the far left. Too old, too white. You know, you're not gonna get
For
that.
sure.
You're not gonna get that section. You know, Elizabeth
Yeah.
Warren has her own problems.
Yeah,
you know?
that Pocahontas thing.
Kamala Harris just dropped.
Oh, she dropped.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
just
she just
dropped.
dropped.
So like, I mean, yeah, Tulsi. I mean,
Tulsi.
I'm not hating on Tulsi. I'm just more down for Yang. You know.
Why you want $1,000 a month?
Yang gang.
$1,000 a month?
Wait, universal income, man, and it's you know
Yo.
from
Patriot dividend.
well,
the
I mean,
the
that's
freedom
yeah. The
dividend. Now look, I run a business. I know for a fact that if I had $1,000 a month, my business would be way more successful.
Hell yeah.
I would have less anxiety. What do you?
Well, that, yeah, like, well, I mean, you break that down real quick for those people who don't know. So like, you can say it. You know, what is it called? The freedom dividend, or also you know,
Universal
income.
UBI,
you know.
UBI. It's UBI. It's rebranded. It's UBI rebranded. I don't care, dude. Do what you gotta do. Sell that. I'm in marketing, bro. Sell that shit. I drank the Kool-Aid.
There's these posters he has that say vote for Yang, and it's him wearing the. I think he's in a suit with fucking what's his name? The American guy, Uncle Sam. Yeah, but it's him, and he's like, I want to give you money, and it's like, oh, dude, that's a perfect way to fucking.
Dude,
you know?
He's young. He knows how to internet. He knows it. No, he really does, bro. And they're already trying to block him out. And like, there's been a backlash, and now media companies are being called out. Like, oh yeah, we were intentionally.
Yeah,
trying
dude.
to,
Even
like,
in the debates, I don't know for those who watch it, but I watch them. They're sometimes like 2 hours long, and I'm still like, what the fuck are they saying? But they don't give him coverage, dude. It's usually just to fucking Bernie, Biden, or Warren. And sure, they're the ones who talk the most. But everybody else not even getting any TV time, dude.
No, and they even like mention their names, and they don't fucking get called on. And like,
I don't know, man. I get it. Like,
it's a mess, bro. It's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a mess. It's not gonna be fixed anytime soon. Like, I'm
oh shit.
I'm optimistic, but at the same time, like, I'm a realist, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna go down the way it's gonna go down, and I think that's why, again, like, a lot of the anxiety that people get from all that is because they're not taking action locally.
Yeah.
And they're not doing enough psychedelics.
No, well, see, well, that brings me back to the point, you know, Biden's ignorant statement in regards to that. And it's like,
dude, I mean, the research is there. I mean, we're already doing clinical trials of psilocybin MDMA,
depression,
like
addiction.
like it's almost like people are so over weed already. They're like they
Yeah.
already like, okay, we're good
They're
with
moving
weed. We're like
forward.
we got to do more.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I think Colorado was trying to pass, or they passed some sort of bill.
Oakland.
Oakland decriminalized.
Oh yeah. Oh nice. See, like little steps like that. But again, there's a difference. I was talking to some friends a few weeks ago in regards to just their usage of the psychedelic drugs, right? And a lot of the times you probably do take drugs to kind of just have fun, take the edge off, enjoy yourself, and just trip out on whatever comes, along with that trip. But there's also people who go there, maybe not for like with the intentions of doing it, and sometimes they're forced into it by the effect of the drug, but to see a deeper sense of the world around you or yourself. Like again, one of the first times that I tried mushrooms, allegedly. No, I didn't, guys. But I will imagine that the trip.
It's too late. It's too late. We're
Um,
like talking like veterans. It's too late. Bro.
like, oh yeah.
There's only a big ass mushroom back there too.
One of the experiences that I had was, to me, it was fucking not painful, but it was pretty sad that I started thinking that we are in essence we're born alone, again, air quotes here, and you die alone, and at the end of it you have to find a way to feel like, at least this was just my trip, this is my realization.
You have to feel like okay with what you did and okay with dying.
Yeah,
and
you have
be
to
okay
feel.
with it.
Yeah, and you have to feel okay with yourself, because you are home, and you're always, no matter where you are, you should feel like you are with yourself, anywhere, type of thing. It's an idea that if I felt like I needed to be home to feel secure, it's just my social ideology that I have to have some walls around me in a sense
To make
feel
me safe.
Yeah, exactly. And then the second time I tripped out, I thought I had worked towards that. Like my whole thing after the first trip was and it lingered, was you gotta put yourself more in uncomfortable situations, because most of the time I would say that your growth comes from getting out of your comfort zone. And
I mean, that's why like a lot of people kind of talk down on people who take psychedelics at festivals. But I've found in my experience that like sometimes I feel more safe.
Yeah.
At a festival,
Mm-hmm.
like amongst other fucking
Yeah.
freak shows that are just like me.
Yeah.
And we're all like looking out for each other, like in a weird way.
Yeah. Right. There's some sort of.
I mean, of course, it
Secret
depends.
community.
It depends what festivals you go to and the art, and obviously, like where like there's obviously, I'm not gonna just say that clear across the board. It's
Yeah.
always like that, but I feel like for sure, I understand both sides because I've done both. Like I've had fun trips that are just like, look at the colors,
Yeah, right.
and this feels amazing, and I love everybody. And then, but I've also had like super hard, intense trips about how like, yo, one day you're not gonna be here anymore, and like it's not
Yeah.
even gonna matter what you did
What
or
you
didn't
yeah,
do.
Right.
It's only gonna matter how you feel about it in the moment, and like having to like go through this hellhole of thinking that I was like dying and then coming back and realizing like, okay, I'm still alive, so now I
Yeah.
gotta fucking do shit. Like I gotta be urgent,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta like be more intentional. But also sometimes I feel like the two don't have to be exclusive. It's like sometimes you can take something to have fun and feel good, and in that process kind of work through and relieve like trauma, because I feel like, I mean, just I don't know, this is like my personal belief. I feel like, and I probably, because I've heard it from different places and my own experiences, just kind of like an amalgamation of like things that I've fucking read and heard and experienced. I feel like your body like holds trauma.
Yeah. Okay.
Like your body, like you're not in your head, you're not the only one experiencing what's happening to you, like in this cognitive sense. Like your body is also going through those same hardships, like, so every time that you think, you're sad or you're depressed or you feel mentally exhausted or like, you're insecure and you're stressed out, like it's not just your mind that's going through that. I feel like your body is also experiencing those like chemicals and hormones and the way you fucking tense up because you're, you know. So like sometimes like when I'm taking psychedelics and I'm out and I'm dancing and I'm like I feel like I'm relieving like a physical, like I'm going through like a physical healing, using like channeling that fucking higher consciousness to like just kind of like take out this toxin, you know, from my physical form as I'm like moving to like drum rhythms and shit, you know. And it's just like,
yeah, no, that's a fucking great way to say it. Yeah, no, it's definitely true because your body does need that kind of stuff, you know. Okay, so I kind of want to just touch upon the base that like there's definitely a lot of people who don't want to do psychedelics, who are gonna say to the end of their life, I'm not gonna do it, I'm not gonna, you know, take the chance of altering the state of mind to seeing what else is there, you know, because what we see now as a reality, or what we think reality is not fully it, you know. And you know, when anybody tries to explain it, it sounds crazy, but you know, there's more. There's more. Like there's energy in everything around you, type of thing, you know. And it's, I don't know how to explain it.
well, like I feel like you're lifting the veil, you know.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the studies that they've done on psychedelics is that like people used to say like, oh, when you take mushrooms, you're like accessing more of your brain, and like you're seeing shit with like more of your brain.
Yeah.
And actually, like a lot, like some of these MRI tests, what they've actually shown is that like parts of your brain are shutting down, like evolutionary parts that like things that filters you have to put up to survive, right?
Right. Yeah. Because you're only supposed to
perception,
yeah.
like being able to capture food and fuck and eat and like, you know, not get eaten. Like those are like what you're that's what you need to be able to experience, right, to survive. So evolutionarily there's these filters that have been put up so that we can see the world like this and be able to like not get eaten by the wolves and like, you know. And so when you take these psychedelics and these like filters are dimmed and you start to actually see more of the world, more of the universe, and you got to like, you're actually experiencing more, like even the feeling, right? Like sometimes like I've done some crazy shit, right? So I did like I did LSD and mushrooms together once.
Dude.
Yeah. And it was again like, and like this is kind of going back to that. This is kind of going back to my theory, right? Is that like it was in college after like an extremely stressful experience where I had just like pushed my mind and body to like crazy, like just like to get with a goal to get something done, like not even just like party wise. It was like I was working like it was like 2 weeks of just like solid like grind to like do this thing. And at the end of it, like we accomplished our goal and we had a party, and I wanted a party, you know. And I took this shit and I was like, as soon as it hit, like I found a room and I laid down in the bed and I grabbed a blanket and I pulled it over me. And as I pulled it, it was just like rainbows and light and love and stars. And I just wrapped myself up in like the love of the universe. And I just chilled and I was like there, like, and it just like, it was so cathartic. It's like my body needed that to just rest and experience this like one love, you know, with everything, this like cosmic, just like wrapped up in cosmic beauty and like just surrounded by this unconditional love and just feeling this like intense connection and like relief and just like this, like just working through those weeks of trauma, like that intense like push, you know. And like, and I just remember like that experience being like so transformative that like I've written music about it, like I've, you know, like poetry, and like it's always something that I like go back to in my head, like when I'm like now, like when I don't really like party like that anymore. You know, that was like the experimental phase of my life. Like I'm way more like business oriented and like really trying to like, you know, bring positive messages to the community and positive experiences, and like, you know, trying to really create like grassroots movements and like be able to support our art, because that's one of the things that I like about you. There's just so many artists, you know, so many, you're putting on so many, even the music that you play is like so many bands that I know, like that are local. And it's like,
right, yeah, like the music is showcased in the show
from this area, so it's just like you're putting on all this stuff, and I feel like sometimes when I'm in my journey and I'm struggling and I don't know, I always remember that feeling, that moment of how it felt to be like, and like remembering that that's kind of like, I'm trying to accomplish that in real time, you know, like here, like as a collective with folks that like bring me that kind of love and joy and beauty in the art and in the experiences and in the music, and you know what I mean? And that's kind of like I'm trying to create that shit.
At that
like
point you're creating. Yeah, I mean, because you know, at the end you're becoming a creator. You know, you want to have those, because like you said, you were in those footsteps before, so you know, like I said, the struggles, or you know the work that you need to put into getting the space or making a space. You in your hand, you took, you know, responsibility. You put your shit together and you created that space that wasn't available there.
Exactly.
And now those other people, they have a place to go, and then they start rising. You know, and then at the end everybody rises. You know?
Yeah, and I recently did like a career day where like, you know, there was a kid in the class and he was like, yo, I draw, I want to do graphic design, this and that, like, you know, give me a job. And I was like, well, shoot me your information, you know. And like now we're connected on Instagram, and like I'm planning to like, you know, try to like shoot him some work if I can, and let, you know, have him see that, okay, like there's a path, you know, there's a place, you know. And I even since then I'm trying to like plan. A lot of those kids wanted to come see me rap, and like I rap in places where kids are not allowed, right? So now I'm having this idea that like we got to have like some kind of all ages, like something that like where, you know, we could do something, like we need a space that's gonna be for young people, and that can have them, and it's not gonna be dependent on like ticket sales or bar sales
or age limit.
Like it has to be something that's like organic, you know. So there's a couple things in the works. 2020 is upon us, and I'm already like really grinding hard. I've been trying to figure out how to like accomplish these goals that I've set for myself. So expect a lot of things to come for sure.
That's good, man. You know, it's good to hear when people are like taking action and they're just, you know, putting in the work. You know, because unfortunately sometimes you lose momentum, and then when you lose that momentum, you start thinking like, oh fuck, you're gonna start taking all your work and like, you start resenting it in a way, like, you know, where's it getting me type of thing, you know.
Dude, and honestly, I think that's one of the lessons that I've learned this year, and I'm planning to do like a recap on my pod about like the 2019 experience and shit. One of the things that I'm going to talk about is just like realizing when like sometimes you have to do nothing. That's part of the process. Like sometimes you have to fuck off and like not work, like like I feel like my boy Johnny from college, shout out Johnny Wynn, I feel like he said it best. He's like, I don't want to become a rapper who just raps about rapping, you know. So sometimes you have to like I don't want to be an event producer and a musician and a DJ who just all they do is that, you know, even though that's like my goal to be able to do that shit all the time. Like if I'm not being able to just do whatever the fuck I want to do and I feel like I want to do it, then why am I killing myself to live that life, you know? I could go have a 9 to 5 and still have like take time off and like get vacation time. You know what I mean? Like there's other people that have other situations, and like they plan trips because they have steady income and they have time off that they can take. So like for me, it's like sometimes like I had to remember that on this entrepreneur journey, it's like, and this artist journey where it's like independent and it's content generation and it's kind of trying to keep up and stay relevant. Like it's okay to just not do shit sometimes, like, and like to take a break and go to a festival and hit a rave, and you know, like dude, like go have those like those moments where like those experiences where you could like, you know, get out of your body, get out of your head, refresh yourself, come back with like new stories, new experiences, new ideas.
Yeah, for sure. That's what you want, you know. You don't want to fall into that just stagnant type of way, you know. Yeah, man. I mean, that's why, you know, whenever I, like again mentioned, when I hear somebody doing something towards their stuff, it's like, dude, it takes effort, you know, and it does. You know, a lot of people think like, oh, I don't have time, like, but if you really think about it, you do have time. You're just, you know, doing a lot of other stuff sometimes, you know. And I feel like when you really want to make the effort into something, you're gonna find a way to kind of make time for it, one way or another, and even if it's 5 minutes.
It's super cliche, and a lot of people will call people out for, you know, the privilege they had or the opportunities they didn't have, but like at some point it's like you choose what you do with your time. Like you choose it. like, sure, everybody has their particular situation, their bills, their, like, people made choices, whatever, right? But like, when you really, really get down to it, like, you can make the choices that you want to make with your time. Like, you could choose to do, and if that means working 9 to 5 and then, like, not fucking going to the bar and drinking and watching TV after, but going to do whatever your hobby is, and, like, going to, like, go put in that work into what you really want to do with your time instead of your 9 to 5, so that one day you can quit your 9 to 5 and then
you just pursue that.
So I mean, like, sometimes that's the grind you gotta take. And it's just it's hard to tell people how to live their lives, but at some point it's like, I feel like it's your choice.
Yeah, I mean, unless you enjoy your 9 to 5, like,
right? And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's
nothing wrong with having 9 to 5, but I feel like we're talking about, like, a lot of people who are unhappy.
Yeah, of course, and
who
I'm sure that's a huge
unfulfilled.
percentage of it. Yeah,
They're feeling unfulfilled. They're unhappy, and they're working jobs they don't like. And living lives that they don't get to live, and they feel like they can't do anything. They feel trapped.
Yeah,
and that's why $1,000 a month would help.
Andrew Yang.
Gang. No, but seriously, like, that's like things like that, like programs, safety nets, privileges, right? What we were going back to earlier. So there's basic human rights, but there's also privileges that, like, if you're living in the most free, most advanced, most rich, greatest country on earth, then we should have privileges that other folks have. And living in equally, quote unquote, great place, like, if we're quote unquote the greatest, why don't we have the privileges that other quote unquote great countries have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then the answer is, we're not that place.
We're corporate.
It's like, what? We're corporate. Yeah, I don't think we went into, like, the universe. It's probably too late here. 3 minutes, but just
9 minutes.
What?
Yeah, 9 minutes.
9 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, universal income, basic income. So we are bringing back to the whole thing is, like, sometimes you have to work that 9 to 5 to just make through what you gotta fucking pay. So the whole idea that Andrew Yang is throwing out, or just the idea of universal basic income,
right? Because other people will start, like, they're gonna pick it up.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like the Bernie of this election. He's gonna push the issue so hard, people are gonna get so behind it that some Democrat is gonna have to accept it in order to get the voters that are behind that.
Yeah. I mean,
there's
that's
a
what
big
they do.
there's a wave. There's a wave for sure, dude. I'll do it. I was at this rave, I'm telling you, and there was fucking Yang Gang totems, bro. People were, dude, I saw hilarious. Andrew Yang's face. I saw the Yang Gang in lights. Like, I saw all kinds of fucking Andrew Yang supporters right there at the rave who would love to fucking spend $1,000 on festival tickets.
Oh, for sure. I went to LA Comic Con and
hey, no questions asked though, right? I mean, if you have a job already where you can afford that and you get an extra $1,000 and you can pay for extra trips to fly to Ibiza, or, like, what the fuck, why not?
Ibiza. No, well, there was cosplayers inside with fucking Andrew Yang posters. I was like, what the fuck? People dressed like the X-Men. Like, I was like, dude.
$1,000
he knows how to play it.
Kevin Smith performing at the next Shut Up with Mike.
1,000.
Drop him a G.
No, I mean, but the whole idea is,
dude, what would your studio turn into if you had an extra $1,000 a month?
China would be rolling China would be a bank.
No, bro.
China?
You'd have to buy local, man. That's the whole point.
No, I mean, just to wrap it up, in that case, the universal income was supposed to be like an incentive, or not an incentive, a dividend.
Safety net.
Yeah, exactly. For the idea that you'll be using it to cover the bills, to have more money to be able to either spend to make the economy rise, or you spend it on hobbies or pursue specific things. Like, for example, you can buy equipment for your, your music.
Right.
And so on and so forth.
You can fucking buy materials to make clothes. You can buy the paint to fucking paint murals.
Yeah.
You can fucking publish your own books, pay to get a book printed,
Yeah, exactly.
Pay for a website, a monthly subscription to a website to have your own website. You can fucking use that shit to pay taxes on the shit you sell. There's so many things that, and it all comes from, like, these corporations not paying their fair share.
Right.
Amazon made fucking, they're the biggest. They paid zero. Paid zero.
Yep.
And people are like, where's the money gonna come from? You can't just tax everything. No, like, okay, so he said you get to choose, right? Either you get the welfare or you get $1,000. You don't get both. So you either want EBT and that, or you get the $1,000. And then you also have to
for
think,
you to use on whatever you want.
so
type of
either
thing.
you get the shit for the food and the welfare and those benefits,
Mhm.
or you get the 1,000. You can't get both, right? So that cuts cost there.
Yeah.
And then people have money in their pocket, and they can actually like buy better food and get vitamins and go see doctors, and now they're healthy. And now you have less people going to the emergency room, less people being a burden and having to like be more expensive because they're sick and unhealthy and dying, right? So there's like a lot of pluses where like then the costs. You know, people have $1,000. They can pay parking tickets. They can pay fines. They don't go to jail. So we we lowered the price of having to have people incarcerated. You know, so that goes down. Like, yeah, and then people spend money in their communities. They go to bars. They go to restaurants. They take their girlfriends out, and you know, they fucking stimulate their local community
economy,
with money, and people can hire more people because more money's coming in, and all the shits, and then maybe people can quit their jobs and fucking other people can get hired. You know, like it's like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, from what I got here is Shneaky has converted me into the Andrew Yang gang.
Yeah. What about you, Dre?
What about you?
Super Radio Network, Yang Gang.
All I'm gonna say is, if he gets the UBI going, I'm gonna invest in crack because crack sales are gonna go way up, way up.
Nah, why you gotta make it like that?
I
That's not even
know.
true. Maybe people will get off crack because they'll actually have money to like do better shit than crack.
Yep. It's true.
Maybe because like in order to get the money, you actually have to be like registered and like be on the grid. And usually crackheads, they go too deep to get them. Nah. No questions asked. They said,
Oh yeah.
give a free $1,000.
For the 1,000.
No questions asked. For whatever you want.
Weed's cool.
I mean, he did say he was gonna like legalize or decriminalize nationwide if he became president.
Dude, which,
There's already a bill.
yeah, there's already a bill right now working towards
You know
Congress.
how many
I think, or
bills
something, right?
there are that Congress is not fucking signing, bro? Come on.
No. Oh well, that's
that's some other shit. That's a whole other podcast. That listen to Mulder She Wrote.
So we got what? We got 4 minutes here. Yeah. So.
So should we go with my song?
Yeah.
Or are there any other things that
Oh,
we didn't
yeah.
talk about anything, huh?
Yeah, out of the notes here, we didn't touch one, but dude, it's perfect.
All right, well then can I
this
just
is another
fucking-
podcast.
Can I just blabber myself and like?
Yeah,
tell
dude,
everybody what's
give us
going on?
first of all, give us your link here so we know before we start putting your song. Where can people find you? If I know you, before we wrap that up, I know you also do DJ, right?
Yes, I
You're
DJ.
doing DJ where?
I'm DJing tonight at Novocaine in Huntington Park. So if anybody's listening live still, come through. I'm also DJing. Well, I have my monthly hip hop show, Speak Easy, here in the city of Maywood. That happens every second Friday. So it's happening this Friday at the Redwood Room
nice.
on Atlantic and Slauson.
Close by.
And then I'm like triple booked on Saturday. So I'm doing a brunch in the morning. DJing at Border X in the afternoon. And then I'm catching a late set at the Holiday Bar in Boyle Heights. And you could basically find all my stuff at shneaky.net. But if you're specifically Instagram's what's popping right now. I'm trying to get my Instagram cracking. So if you want to follow me, follow me. I have 3 Instagrams. Sorry. So I'm going to tell you all of them. It's at official Shneaky for all my music and personal stuff. At Shneaky ENT for all event flyers and business related things. And then at Rec Respect Pod, REC Respect Pod for all the podcast stuff. So, yeah, find me, follow me, come hang out at the shows, say what's up. Let's drink a beer, smoke a blunt, kick it, you know.
Sounds
do
like
what?
a good plan.
Yeah, man. So Shneaky, doing it for the community every day.
Sweet, man.
What else
Well-
did you have on your list right here?
Oh, we had what else? We have East LA Art Walk, and I think that's a yearly arts fest, right?
Oh yeah, the Cellar Arts Fest is
Yeah.
happening in July. Planning meeting starts this month. I think we're gonna start planning this month. I think. So.
Sick. Yeah, I mean, for those who haven't heard of that, it's basically a music festival with vendors and like, there's like different crafts going on. I remember there was face painting.
Yeah. Over 100 vendors.
In the
there's
riverbed.
Food trucks. Yeah, 3 stages in the LA riverbed at the.
Yeah. Which I think is a fucking dope ass concept.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Shout out Anthony Rendon. Actually, he probably does not want to hear me have his name associated with the rest of the conversation we just had, but that was also someone that's doing it for the community and has really like put resources in the hands of the folks. You know, that I think that almost proves like universal basic income in a way, right? Because like that whole festival is done by community members.
Yeah.
And like they actually pay the people who make art and organize in the community to actually throw the festival. And like, so we're throwing our own festival with money that they've got, you know, so they're actually giving us the resources and we're actually putting it towards throwing this festival that, you know, has 6,000 people and has performers from all ages and family friendly and like completely free.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's, you know, that's one of those things like when government spends correctly and actually gives the power to the people, like the things will get done, you know, to the best of its ability. Like so.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, you know, for sure. Thank you for coming out, man.
Yeah,
Thank you
Thanks for
all
having
the
me,
info.
bro. Yeah, I feel like this conversation was so dense. It went by so quick. I feel like we were only for 20 minutes, but it was like a whole hour, huh?
Yeah, it went pretty fast.
We'll have to do a part 2. Because I feel like we didn't even touch any of the shit we want to talk about.
Yeah, I know. But it's cool seeing the introduction to Shneaky.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. For fucking checking the podcast out.
Yeah, no, make sure y'all come out, and then we could thank you for coming out, too, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, the Border X thing is like a Border Angels event, so it's like,
it's like this weekend, right?
Yeah, Mind Monogram, the Tracks,
the Altons
Welfare, the Altons, yeah. Yeah.
You know where to be,
DJing,
people.
Hanchola, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Thank you to IMUR and the rest of our audience.
Thank you.
All right, so this song is actually a new song. I've performed it a bunch, but it's been on some like video content that I put out, but this is like the final version. So it's called Stay True, and it's coming off of an unnamed project that's dropping next year.
Damn,
early
exclusive.
Year.
Got the exclusives.
Yeah, it's not out yet. It's gonna drop soon, but you know, thought I'd do something special for the folks here for having me on. Dre's always putting me on. I've been on so many shows here, you know, so fucking love y'all.
Sweet.
You know, thought I'd do some shit right here. So.
Well, thanks everybody. Dre, as always, thank you. Shneaky, thanks for coming out. Everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next episode. And stick around for Shneaky's exclusive song.
Peace.
Blocks with Shneaky stickers and buttons. I'm an alchemist, I've been making gold out of nothing. I'm in the studio, sesh tracks are still running. Run another plane, track strap, we still hunting. Thinking back to when I packed sacks, thought I was the man, time passed. County sales, wedding bells, baby cries, family ties. Trying to guess my father's eyes, to be the man in Brandon's eyes. Trying to dry my mother's eyes, to live my truth amongst the lies. Make sure you stay true, make sure you do you. Make sure nobody ever try to use you. Make sure you stay true, make sure you do you. Make sure nobody ever fucking use you. Life is a trip when I'm living like this. Success is the goal and I'm striving for it. To tell you the truth, been living in bliss. Chasing my dream and not giving a shit. Starting a business and using my whip. Employing my brain and flexing my wit. Expressing myself and my will and my gift. Making the life that I'm choosing to live. Forgetting traditional. Structures are fictional. Religion is ritual. Existence is spiritual. Surpassing the minimum on a continuum. Chillin', kick back on the beat, but still riding the rhythm cut. Make sure you stay true, make sure you do you. Make sure nobody ever try to use you. Make sure you stay true.